Hi, Kaylin and Heidi. I'm just going to take a few minutes in the screencast to talk about a few things about the ethics course. I was thinking about the two of you this weekend and really kind of feeling bad I hadn't spent as much time with you as I probably should have over the last few weeks, helping you, figure out what to do with my ethics content. I have answered a few emails from you, but I'm not sure I've really touched bases sufficiently. I could excuse myself by saying I've been working on all these new projects this semester, which I have, but I thought what I'd do in, say, 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, I'm going to shoot for 5 minutes, I'll probably go over, is just take a look at the course I'm currently teaching. It's an ethics course. It's in a learning community with an English Own I Know course, so we've got like two courses kind of crammed into one course shell. But that being said, I'm still teaching the ethics course more or less the same way that I've done it in the past. And I thought maybe having me walk you through, kind of where I went the first 2 weeks, where I'm headed this week, and my trajectory for the semester would give you a better sense of the way I teach the course. Not to say that you need to teach it the way I do, but since you're looking at my materials, you might be worthwhile to see how I do things. So here's my course homepage. And you can see I use this Center Course News, frequently, multiple times per week to give students updates on things. I do a lot of screencasts, so here's, I went through the week one discussions. I created a little screencast, almost exactly what you're seeing me do here. And to do this, all I'm using is the free Screencast-O-Matic website, and I do have my webcam plugged in, but certainly you could do this without a webcam and do something really similar as long as you have a microphone on your computer. I am using this center column to do news, and I think I'm using more or less the rest of the course similar to the way you're doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the content area and show you. It's going to look a lot like the master course that I let you take a look at. So at the top I've got the textbook stuff here in PDF format. And I do have these saved in Word document files. I don't want to give those to students because then that just kind of opens them up for total copying. But if you would like the original Word documents that you can get in and edit, we can work that out. But anyway, I've got it set up by week, much like the way the master was. So week one was basically an overview. So I always start with an overview page. It's going to open up slightly different than it will because I'm in instructor mode here. But each week I tell students what's the reading, what assignments are due, what are their quizzes and surveys due, and then a little bit about the discussions. And it works this way every week. I always give an overview of the material for the week. So we started off with the ethics survey and some beginning discussions the first week about. I started them off with the child rearing discussion to kind of get them into thinking about ethical relativism. And that's really all I did week one. I did some biography stuff, I worked on profiles, and I just spent a lot of time, working with students to make sure they were up to speed. Where am I at? 3 minutes and 15 seconds, okay. Week two, I've got something similar. I've got an overview page here. And here I'm doing these blog assignments for this learning community, and I don't think you're doing them, but again, the blog assignments that I'm doing for the learning community were either critical response assignments, short essay assignments in the course the way I taught it, when I was teaching it as a standalone course, or I just worked those into to the discussions. So anyway, what they were supposed to do for week two is read the first chapter of Engaging Ethics, which really just kind of gets students up to speed on what ethics is. It deals with the course description, and again, it deals with this differentiation between subjective, relative, and objective as three potential ways to think about ethics. And it's probably pretty clear from what I'm writing. I'm trying to get students to not be naive subjectivists or relativists. So I'm really trying to push the possibility of objective truths, even if there aren't any. The idea that they might be there kind of leads us to the importance of argument. And so the second half of week two is really focused on starting students thinking about beliefs and evidence. And so, I have them take that beliefs and evidence survey. And so that's really what's going on week two. And then, we're starting week three, so what am I having them do this week? We're talking about beliefs and evidence. We're talking about, we look at Bitbutter, we look at Clifford, we look at Russell, and we're asking ourselves, To what extent do we need evidence to justify our beliefs? Beliefs in general, and of course I'm really interested in thinking about ethical beliefs. And so we're also doing ethical dilemmas this week, again, to try to get students into the mode of thinking about whether or not I have good reasons for my own moral values. If I'm trying to talk to someone else intelligently about my moral values, I really need to provide them with reasons that they can understand. So if we're sitting in an overcrowded lifeboat, do we really just want to let the strongest person decide? Do we want to just take a vote? Do we want to talk about how people feel? Or if we're talking about whether we should sacrifice innocent people for the greater good or not, maybe we want to actually give people arguments and reasons for why the view that we think is best really is the best. So this whole unit is really thinking about drilling down to first principles, um, basic claims, and how we might argue for those basic claims. And so that's what's going on this week. And you can see where I'm headed. Week 4 is religion and ethics. Week 5 is deontology. Week 6, 7, 8, and 9, these are these weeks that have to do with interests, best interests, and where I get into utilitarianism and ethical egoism, and then the course kind of goes on from there. But with 6 minutes in, let me go ahead and flip over to my discussion area to kind of give you a sense of how I run discussions. Um, you're not going to have these. I'm using discussions for students to do class blogs, but let's just take a look at, week 1 and week 2. Week 1, I had a practice topic, so students were just up here posting anything they wanted to just to practice with discussion and whatnot. We had a really good discussion on this morality of child rearing. I've got 20 students in this class, and we had, more than 100 posts just in this one discussion topic. I'm trying to help them work on doing things like retitling discussion posts. So you can see they're not really doing it here, lots of RE. And the threads aren't really very well developed. Again, students don't really understand how to develop threads and how to develop discussion. So that's something I work on this first week. But you can see with 20 students, I got really good, some really good initial discussions on the morality of child rearing, just getting students to kind of confront, is it all good? Does the fact that people believe things were true in the past mean they were correct, etc.? And you can see for week 2, I had 3 topics running. I had this, let me go ahead and click over here. For week 2, I had ethics survey results. So that's where I published the survey results from week 1 in summary form and just had students talk about, what did they see that was interesting? What did they see that was, kind of surprising? And this was actually turned out to be a really interesting discussion. So everyone in my class said we should have evidence for our claims, so that was something some people picked up on. And there were some cases where the class was split almost 50-50. So, we kind of took off on some of those things. The Suffer the Children was a really robust discussion, and this had to do with this confronting whether ethics is relative or not. So you can see still here we're struggling with getting students to retitle posts, but they're getting better at it. And you can see maybe thread development a little bit better. And I'm hoping you're also checking over here. You see my name sprinkled in here a lot. Again, I said this in the syllabus, but I just wanted to let the two of you know that discussion is really where I feel like I get my teaching done. I wrote the text, but my interaction with students and most of my teaching actually happens in discussion. So it's why I weight the discussion so heavily in the grade. So, I am in here every day. A few minutes here, a few minutes there, but I really try to look for ways to interact with students and to press them on the content, to push them forward, to ask them provocative questions and whatnot. So, some pretty good discussions here, and you can see some threads starting to develop. The moral analogies topic that I ran last week was, again, getting students to try to confront this idea of, is a question about morality like a question about fashion? Is it like a question about what someone finds delicious, or is it more like, what is healthy? And you can see our still struggling to get students to manage their discussions perfectly, well. But you can see some pretty good thread development here. really hashing out what would it mean to say ethics is subjective, what would it mean to say ethics is relative and objective. And again, here I'm just pushing and pushing and pushing to try to get students to see the real pitfalls and problems with subjectivism and relativism. Not that there aren't lots of problems with objectivism, but again, the way I cast it, at least if we're looking for real truths and we feel a need to justify our positions and to argue. So, week 3, let's see what we're starting with. I'm having them start with the overcrowded lifeboat, and I'm really asking them to think about, we all more or less agree that it's wrong to kill innocent people. More or less we agree that it's a good idea to save as many innocent people as possible, and we probably agree that people are morally equal and morally valuable. So, seeing as how we probably agree with those first principles, how do we use those ideas to either argue that we should keep everybody in the lifeboat or we should make sacrifices? And so here, what I'm going to try to do this week is again, there's no right answer to this dilemma, but try to push people to think about, deontological thinking, utilitarian thinking. Are they throwing in some virtue ethics kinds of things? Are there some feminist ethicists lurking in there? And to try to preview where we're going and just really push people to give arguments for their positions. The beliefs, evidence, and truth topic, I'm really doing 2 things this week. The power and humility topic, I'm really asking people to think about, on the one hand, we say we want people to be skeptical and to have good reasons for what they believe, and we say it's a virtue when someone admits they're wrong and decides to look for new evidence. But yet somehow when we're talking about politicians or teachers or doctors or other people, we expect people to be certain. And we criticize people who flip-flop or change their position. So I'm trying to get students to confront this idea of, if we really value skepticism and if we really think people who don't know with certainty should remain in doubt, why are we so schizophrenic when we, kind of demand certainty from, the people in our society that are supposed to know something? And so I'm trying to get students to confront that. And I'm also really dealing with this anything for a quiet life, this idea that I bring up in the Bitbutter video that we should respect everyone's beliefs. And you can see where I'm pushing students is that we should not respect other people's beliefs. And we should respect people, but beliefs are not the kinds of things that deserve respect. Beliefs deserve criticism, listening, understanding, and to try to separate out how we can be critical of someone's ideas and hold someone's ideas to the fire without necessarily going to the ad hominem. So that's one of the things I'm really working on this week. Again, next week we're going to move into philosophy of religion and on. So what I'll end, I'm already at 13 minutes here, I apologize for going over, but please continue to send me email if you have questions about how the ethics class is running. I will once again, forward the offer that if you would like student access to my class, I am happy to give it. And you can check in every day and you can see what I'm doing, how I'm interacting with students, how I'm teaching the class. And if you would like me to have access to your ethics class online, I would be happy to. I don't have that access right now. It's something you would need to email Jim Piccolini and ask him to give me access if that's something that you would like. Anyway, I hope this screencast was helpful, and please feel free to ask me anything about teaching the ethics course. Thanks.